It's time, everybody. The ShopNotes Podcast is on the floor. Episode number 253. I'm your host, Phil Huber, along with Logan Whitmer on today's episode. We'll be addressing quite a number of reader comments. We also have a listener question that we'll dive into. There's lots of different ways to approach all the things that we do. Always love to hear from listeners and viewers. You can check us out on the ShopNotes Podcast on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ShopNotesPodcast. Or send us an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com. Pay the bills here with a sponsor message. ShopNotes Podcast is brought to you by Gorilla Glue. When you're working on a project in the shop, and you frankly should be, you put in hours of effort. The last thing you want is for it to come apart because the glue didn't hold. That's why you should keep a bottle of Gorilla Wood Glue on the bench. It's non-foaming, it cleans up with water and dries a natural color. And of course, there's the reliable Gorilla strength you can always trust. Also, check out the Gorilla Wood Filler for strong, durable repairs. Gorilla is strong enough for the pro and easy enough for the beginner. Built by you, backed by Gorilla. All right. We'll dive into the comment section from last episode. My Hermit Life writes, that was us with the Sawtill. And correction, it was a convertible Chevy Camaro.
Dang it. I thought it was Mustang. Whatever.
Yep. And
you know,
depending on who you are and what world you circle in, it's like sames.
Yeah.
And in some people, that's like apostasy to be able to say something like that. Steegs writes, I subscribe to both Popwood and Woodsmith mags and always read the editor letters first. That would be one. As far as ash goes, some can have the yellow hue of dried wood glue. And that's the color that I was trying to talk about.
That's 100% what it is, too.
Right. Because we have, we're shooting a TV show episode with a vanity with that ash. It's actually going to go in your shop.
Yeah.
And it's ash that you milled somewhere around here. And like we were talking about, it does not have that color. But we needed some ash plywood for like some interior pieces, blah, blah, blah. And that stuff has the dried Tightbound original color in it. Yeah. That's right on the nose. James Stevens says, I want to ask a question about the holiday lantern project. Have any of you guys come up with a more accurate way to put the 1/8-inch groove in the dowels for the panels to sit in? Holiday lantern project. Come up with a more accurate way to put the 1/8-inch groove in the dowels for the panels to sit in. Here's what happens when you don't read the questions before you start recording a podcast episode. Because what I'm doing right now is what we call filler, while Logan frantically Googles what we're trying to solve right now.
That's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm not connected to the VPN, so I can't pull it up. But what I will, I'm assuming they're like grooves along the length of the dowel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when that is the case, that you're trying to put a groove along the length of a dowel, my default is almost always to route the dowel out of square stock, but leave the ends square, so then you have the square reference to make the groove.
Okay. I'll buy that.
That'd be my go-to.
Okay.
So like you have a section of stock, you do a round over along all four edges, but leave the last, inch square.
Yeah.
And then you can use that to set your reference. That would be what I would do, but okay. I'm like semi-panicking because I don't know what the grooves are.
Yeah. It's actually in Woodsmith number 120.
Yeah, I was trying to find
1998.
That.
And the corner posts are dowels.
Okay.
What do they... I mean, they got to show how they do it, right? Oh, yeah.
I would think so.
So they have that you have your dowels, and each dowel has like a tenon on the end of it.
Okay.
So the dowel then goes into, you make little square, the art shows 1.5-inch square pieces of hardwood with a hole that matches the tenon size.
Yeah, so you're basically making square ends on a dowel.
Making square ends, right.
Yeah.
And then you can run that across the table saw, and when that's pinched together, if it's a nice tight fit, then you can run that across the table saw blade or like a slot cutter and cut the groove in there.
What's the diameter of the dowel?
The dowels are 3/4-inch diameter dowels.
Oh yeah, so they're pretty big size, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is probably the most accurate way to do that.
Yeah.
Either leaving the ends square or doing what the art shows. I don't know if the art shows it or not. Is there just one groove in each, or are they grooves like in 90-degree planes to each other?
90-degree planes, which is why those end pieces are square, so then you just rotate your piece. And I get that you might worry about the dowel rotating in there, but I think if you...
Throw a set screw in it.
Set screw, or like even I was thinking even like a brad through the end.
Yeah.
Just to hold it, you know, or whatever, I think. But yeah, the way that they show it in the magazine... in figure 4, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
that works for me.
That's fine. Yeah, I was thinking doing the groove at the router table,
right?
But the router table will definitely have more potential to roll that dowel than the table saw would. Where the table saw, the force is in line with everything.
Yeah. Which is why I'm thinking like if you choose to do it with the router table, I would do it with a slot cutter, because then it's going to be more like that table saw cutting action on there. And
that's also true. Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm cool with that. Love it. Harold McDonald writes, PSA for fellow commenters, the level of heckling beyond which Phil will no longer read your comments on the air is somewhere south of suggesting things. In the words of John Doyle, I'll see myself out.
I'm going to have to go back. What episode was that on?
251. Like, people can go back and read them. I'm just not going to
I'm going to.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
In response to that, Ryan McGregor says, well, your comment may not have been read on the air, but at least the shop tour magically got done. And judging by Logan and John snickering at 159, it at least did provide some comic relief off the air. Master Ranger says, Southern Shores coffee is the best. Get the blueberry, bushwhacker, or the black and tan. Okay. I'm not sure I'm familiar with Southern Shores coffee.
I'm not either. Okay. It's in Alabama.
Okay. All right. Stephen Ferguson says, feeding off John's War of the Whirls suggestion, as the whirl turns, might be good for Logan. It's a play on a soap opera title, in case you didn't pay attention to what your mom or wife watched during daytime TV.
Nope.
There you go. Always glad to have comments. Always glad to have the option to choose to read what I choose to read. If you want to read other comments on a podcast, get your own. All right, let's dive in. Here we had a question that I think probably based on topics that we've talked about on the podcast here. John Phillips writes, I'm planning on making a front door for our 100-plus-year-old farmhouse. I'm going to use white oak, but I'm concerned it's not the best wood to use if it's going to be painted. Can you give me your thoughts or suggestions? I I think that there's a bias sometimes when furniture makers start doing house projects. In that, as furniture makers, a lot of times, we have a bias towards natural wood.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say white oak to somebody, immediately that furniture maker is going to go to some arts and crafts stickly project, and the thought of slapping a coat of paint on that feels a little, yeah. In my opinion, I think white oak is very paintable. I think, and this is where I'm going to invite you to chime in on, because you have a little bit more experience with it than I would. But I think that there is better paints and lesser better paints to use, whether it's white oak or not.
Yes. And that is exactly where I was going. My problem with painting oak is not that you're painting oak. My problem with painting oak is more of a problem with painting any open grain wood. Is you have grain texture that's going to show through, and you have the task of getting that paint down into those grain pores to give yourself complete coverage. And that is a royal pain in the butt.
Right.
Unless you use the right paint. And I think the right paint for that application is linseed paint. Because the paint, the pigment size is so small in that linseed paint, it gets down into that grain really nicely. And then what you're doing, now again, this is completely based on the premise that you can get linseed paint in the color that you or your significant other wants. What you're doing is you are allowing the grain of the wood to show through on the surface. So it looks like wood, but it looks like blue wood, or it looks like red wood. Not that type of redwood, but like it looks like a painted board, which is exactly what it is. If somebody's like, "Oh, I want to paint this bed, and I want this bed to be gray." Cool. Why are you using wood? Make it out of composite plastic. Like, seriously. I mean, there's a point where the material doesn't matter if you're putting that much color on it. So, in my opinion, does not matter if you paint white oak. Go ahead and slap paint on it. But do yourself a favor and grab some higher quality paint. Linseed paint's fantastic. I think you could probably get the same thing with milk paint, I think, because the pigment's very, very fine.
Yeah, and especially the old school milk paint that you have to mix up, not like like the acrylic pre-mixed stuff, because that's not. They call it milk paint just because of the look that you get from it, but it's not really true milk paint. And because old school milk paint is an exterior quality finish. Yeah. You want the powdered stuff in a bag. Yeah. So you don't want the pre-canned stuff. Right.
I think I have zero issues with that. Do yourself a favor though, especially with it being an outdoor project. Partially outdoor project, pre-finish the panels. Because those will absolutely, without a doubt, expand and contract. And with a paint, when you get a line around the edge of a panel, it is going to be very noticeable. Yeah, I think there's another thing to consider when you're painting a project. And we've done it on projects here for the show. If we know that it's going to get painted, within boundaries, you can. Well, we did a painted dining room table a few seasons ago, and the base we made out of alder, and then we decided to paint it
because of that, the specific grain pattern on the alder really didn't matter because it was going to get covered with paint. And alder is, when you sand it, is a real smooth finished surface.
Mm-hmm.
The pitfall here is that when you switch over to paint mode in your brain as a woodworker, it's really tempting to think like grain doesn't matter. But I think, especially in a front door, you still want to be very selective on the parts that you're choosing. So like the big long stiles, the vertical stiles, those still need to be rift sawn or quarter sawn pieces.
Yeah.
Even though you're going to paint it.
Yeah, I think still, regardless of the finish for an entry door, I think everything needs to be as quarter sawn as possible.
Yeah. You know, like panels can be a little flat sawn because they're going to be captured in a groove or something like that. But your structural components need to be straight grain.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to minimize warping. And I think, you know, if you've heard or read anything about white oak being terrible for paint and being outside, is because it's probably some ratty flat sawn piece that is moving a lot in seasonal humidity and weather changes and is going to shed that coating. But because I think, you know, like standard house paint on siding is fine because it's latex, but on a door, you know, it's like putting a latex exam glove on the wood. Like it just and it's going to come off the same way that a latex exam glove is going to come off. It's just going to peel right off and it's going to look gross, which is where I think having something like the milk paint or the linseed oil paints that are, I don't know, seeing a little bit of a resurgence right now.
Yeah.
Would be great because they're really designed for something outdoors.
Yeah. There is another type of paint that I have seen recently in, I'm going to say antique stores. Calling something like the brass armadillo an antique store is a little weird because it's not all antiques. Like there's like these little like chic things that people are putting up. So let's call them flea markets.
Okay.
I've seen people putting in their like displays of whether they're calling mineral paint, which I don't know exactly what that is.
Huh. Okay.
But they're calling it mineral paint. So I'm wondering if it isn't some form of like mineral oil carrier. I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't know anything about that other than it's there. Linseed or milk paint would be my first two. Be warned, the linseed paint, and we've said this before, the linseed paint takes for freaking ever to dry. God, it takes forever. Like days. And you'll still end up with green all over your hands in your favorite t-shirt. So. Now, on the note of doors, I think I have to make another set of church doors. Not have to, but I think I'm making another set of these church doors that I did recently for a church a couple hours north of us. And they're paying for these ones. So part of me wonders, does it make sense to buy a Domino XL to do those?
Oh.
Basically take everything that I would make on that set of doors and just buy an XL Domino. And the reason I am wondering is because I've heard a lot of people using the Domino XL for entry doors. No issues.
Yeah.
But working on this table for the same church, I did the front panel, frame and panel of that out of Domino's. And every time I just do that, I'm like, this is so stupid easy. Like, it's just so easy. And instead of going through all the headache of, like, routing super deep mortises in both parts, you know, like giant mortises, making tenon stock, doing all that stuff, I just bzz, 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 and do it. So.
Okay. Considering you already have the Panto router.
I know. I don't need it.
No, I'm just curious as to because couldn't you 3D print a template that would give you domino-sized mortises?
Yeah, I honestly have with the segment and tenon one, I could do that still.
Okay.
It's just more the fact that going so deep, the bit's really grabby, and it does take quite a while to do them.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
that's more the issue,
right?
And the parts are so long. You absolutely can use the Panto router for that. That's how I did the last one, but those parts are so big and so long that I think that the table, it will handle them, but it's easy to get a little bit of a skew on it because it's tipping one way or another. If you're doing the mortises on the ends of one of the long stiles, you have 7 foot hanging off one side of it. So everything has to be clamped down. You have to have a roller guide up there, all that jazz,
Yeah.
Where
No,
it's like,
fair.
okay, if I just leave it on the workbench and just plunge cut it, I don't know. Do I need it? Is it an excuse to buy it? I don't know. Maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Is it any stronger? Honestly, I don't even know how big of tenon you can do with a Domino XL.
What is it, like a 14 millimeter cutter on there is the big one?
The maximum... Oh, wow. The maximum tenon length for the Domino XL is 5.5 inches.
Yeah.
14 millimeter diameter.
2 3/4.
Yeah, into each part.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty meaty tenon.
Plus, you have the option to, on wide rails to do 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
2 or more.
On the last doors, the top panel. I think I probably talked about this at nauseum. But the top panel, the top rail on each door is the wide panel. So it's kind of opposite what you'd think. You'd think the bottom one would be the biggest, but the top one actually is. And I think on those I did 3 tenons on each that were 4 inches wide.
Yeah.
So I did a bunch of them on there. So I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the same thing for folk making exterior doors, that it, really simplifies the joinery part of it. Just because, as you were saying, many times those pieces are pretty thick and large. They're long pieces. So it's just a hassle to jig up for those.
Yeah.
But if you can just more or less leave them on your bench, mark out center lines, so the setup is kind of pre-programmed into the tool. Yeah. That's fair.
Yep. So, boy, it's expensive though. I'm looking at it. Ooh, she's pricey.
This episode of the ShopNotes Podcast is brought to you by Harvey Industries. Good enough is not good enough. See all our new tools at harveywoodworking.com.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure that I'm doing that project yet. I feel like they said yes, but I'm not. Yeah. So.
Did they say yes, though?
I don't know.
Right. All right. Well, what else is new in popular woodworking land?
Issue went to the printer last week, so that got sent off. That one is a Shea Alexander stool, Colin Knopf wall cabinet, a Willie Sandery drill press storage cabinet, and then I'm not even going to try to pronounce Laura's last name. Laura is from Norway, so she did an article on the Scandinavian skew chisel, which is a Scandinavian kind of fishtail carving chisel. Kind of a super versatile one. So that is off to the printer. We are working on laying out the next issue now. Got what I am calling and I know Brian probably is going to listen to this, so I'm calling Brian DeYoung's spice chest a Harlem space chest because that's where he lives, Harlem, Georgia.
All right.
So kind of a period piece, circa current period, I guess. So that one is in there. We have the Grizzly Maker Challenge winner, Hasib. We are doing his floating top entry table. So that one is a mitered case, glued up, floating. I'd say floating top. There's a couple little standoffs under there that make the curved top. The curved top has a radial veneer and bent lamb edging on it. And then the other project is already shot. A former editor of, I believe, Woodcraft magazine, Chad. I'm going to butcher his last name. He has a wall-mounted kind of power tool cabinet, kind of a standard like drill caddy style deal. Okay. So that was a nice one because I didn't have to go shoot it. He did his magazine for a long time, so I knew he knew how to do his stuff. So Chad McClung.
Oh yeah.
Can't remember if he was at Woodcraft or if he was at what was the other one? Rockler's magazine.
Oh, Woodworker's Journal.
Woodworker's Journal. I can't remember which one he was at.
Okay. Name is familiar. I saw just recently your jointer video bringing your Moac back to life. That video went live.
Yeah. Yep. So here's how we work, because we wear lots of different hats. We oftentimes have lots of irons in the fire. So we'll shoot a video like this jointer restoration video. It's like, I got time scheduled with the video crew. Everybody's here. We're doing some video work in the shop. That goes off. Cool. Not on my plate anymore. I flush it out of my mind. And then the next time I see it, it's a link from Nate, our video editor, that comes back and says, hey, here's the first draft. Let me know if you have any changes. So we'll look at it. Cool. Looks great. Because I'm not in the business of making other people do more work than is necessary. So it's like, I'm always just like, send it, man. Like, I'm good with it.
Allow professionals to do their job.
Yep. If he makes me look like an idiot, that's on me. That's not on him. But then I take that video and I send it off to Colin. Like, here, Colin, finished video. Go ahead and upload it to YouTube. Because he does all his back-end, keywording and all that jazz, whatever. But then, inevitably, I get a message that says, hey, you got a thumbnail for this? It's like, well, crap. Nope, didn't think about that part of it. I'll get you one. And usually my texting to him saying, I'll get you one, is either when I'm on the road doing a photo shoot, I'm in the studio doing something. So I forget about it. So, that video's been done for months now. Just has never had a thumbnail until yesterday. And then I took a couple thumbnails and I sent them to him, and I'm like, Colin, here you go. This is what I got for you, man. This thing's really hard to shoot where it's at because it's so big and there's lots of crap around it. So I think he did. He's like, hey, nice try, little buddy, but I'm just going to grab a screenshot out of the video itself. So that's what we did.
Yep.
So yeah, but no, we're cranking along. I'm still working on this table for the church's candle table. I am building this for the magazine, not as a candle table though. So I'm going to shoot it I'm going to shoot it not completely finished. I'm putting that in air quotes because the candle table obviously will have the secondary top on it that has a recess in it. But the subtop, if you don't put that raised pedestal on it, it's just an entry table. So right. I'm shooting it like that. I'll probably plop in a finished picture of the actual table. But as I'm looking at this, I'm like, you know what I didn't grab? So I grabbed, 70 board feet of mahogany, which is the freaking nastiest wood to work with. And it's inevitable whenever I run into tension issues in stock, it's always in African mahogany. The first time I ever remember having like a bunch of tension built into a board was when I was building my screen door for my house. It was African mahogany, and I resawed a piece of 8/4, and it was 8 foot long. And by the time I got it apart, putting the two ends together, there was a foot in the middle that was not touching. Like there was that much tension in that lumber, and that was 7 years ago. This stuff, as I'm cutting it, you're just watching everything move, like ripping 2 inches off at the bandsaw. It's going like it's crazy how much it's moving. But I ordered 70 board feet of it. I ordered a 1/4 inch sheet of the mahogany ply, which is an MDF core. And then I was like, well, I don't really want to order the 3/4 MDF or the 3/4 mahogany ply because I only need like 1.5 foot by 60 inches of it. I don't need that much. And it's not like I don't need to use it anywhere else inside of it, and I'm not gonna charge the church for that. I'm not going to, just buy it. So I'm like, what can I use? Like, do I make this is for the bottom of the inside of the cabinet. It's like, do I make that out of hardwood? Then I have to worry about expansion and contraction, like all that crap. And then I was in the shop the other day, and I'm like, there is a offcut of a cherry plywood that looks freaking identical. And I was like, Mark, what are you using this for? You're like, nothing. You need it? Take it. Get it out of here. So, yep. All right. So I took it, and I got it here, and I stuck it inside of the. You could not tell if this was cherry or mahogany. Plywood. Like it worked out so great. To be fair, this mahogany plywood is still that like albino mahogany that we got that one time.
Oh yeah.
It's still that stuff. It is very pale. I figure it's getting a stain, and it's on the inside of the cabinet on the base. So even if it was slightly different, you'd never notice. So the base is all ready to assemble. I have end panels glued up with rabbets cut along the length to hold the front and back frames. The front and back frames are done. Glued cleats on the inside for that base to sit on, the bottom of it to sit on. What my next thing is, I'm going to pre-stain the inside because the entire cabinet's getting stained. It's getting stained rich mahogany from Old Masters, in case you're wondering. I don't want to be inside of this cabinet trying to stain it. So I'm going to stain the panels while they're flat, unglued, and then glue it together. So I'm actually going to use screws along the outside through the end panels into the front and back panels because there's appliques of like pillar type appliques that get added on the corners. So it's going to cover up the screws. So it's going to work out great.
Nice.
And on that note, I ordered myself a box of 1,000 screws from McFeely's.
Okay.
This is where my job kind of starts to get expensive because, like, we'll do stuff like, I shot some sponsored video for McFeely's, right? This is not a sponsored portion of this podcast, just a heads up. But I did some video on McFeely's screws. They're an online screw dealer. And they sent me some of their, what they call their Pro Max screws. And I fell in freaking love with them. And you would think, like, okay, they're screws, dummy. Like, how big a difference are they? Here's what I like about these things. The threaded portion is, like, look how short the threaded portion is on that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, you have only 1/3 of that entire screw length that's threaded. So they suck pieces together really easily. You don't get that. They call it board jacking when you get a thread trapped in between your two parts. And then no matter how much you drive the screw, those two pieces won't go together. It's because there's a thread stuck in there. So the idea behind these screws, they actually sell these as deck screws of all things. But the idea is that only the threaded portion is going into the threaded portion is only going into what you are attaching down to.
Right.
So I freaking fell in love with these screws. So I ordered. I ran through all the ones that they sent me for video because obviously I got to test them thoroughly. I ordered a box of 1,000, and I want to say it was like $48, which is more expensive than going and picking up like Spax at the hardware store, I think. But they just, I mean, they're just so much nicer to use. So yeah, that was the, these are what I'm using to attach everything on this table. So
Okay. I'll put
it takes an absolute woodworking nerd to get excited about screws like this.
Right. I'll put a photo and a link on the show notes page so you could take a look at what those all are. So cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely is an advantage of the things that we do around here, of being able to try out a variety of different fasteners in all kinds of configurations.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like, I think there's some fasteners I buy at Menards that I absolutely love, but for like certain applications.
Right.
Well, you saw my sawbuck that I put out in the in the front yard for cutting up firewood. I use these giant Spax leg screws that they're the same ones actually that we used. What did we build? We built something on the TV show, and John had bought these like stainless steel Spax leg screws. Was it like the outdoor planter or?
Yeah, or was it the that bar that we did?
Might have been the bar, but they have like a huge washer head on them.
Yep.
They're like a T30 drive bit. Like, they're giant. And a box of 50 of them is, it depends on the length you get, but like I think the box of 50 was like $15. They are, in my opinion, like way better than buying like a leg screw or a leg bolt, I guess. Because you can just drive them with your impact driver. I freaking love those things. Like, I use them all the time. They're like a plus-sized cabinet hanging screw.
Right. Because a lot of times, what do they call them? Like a construction screw or something like that. But yeah, I think that was one of my epiphanies around here, is having some people like Chris Fitch, or one of our previous designers, Kent Welsh, had done a bunch of stuff for outdoor use and had talked about these screws and how they basically never use lags anymore because the lags end up being too finicky, and a lot of times the steel in them is so soft that when you get to certain lengths they'll snap, or the head will round over and you just can't work at them.
Yeah, especially if they are stainless steel. Which, I mean, a lot of them are outdoor. So I stand corrected. These are not Spax. These are GRK brand. These are the ones that I bought.
Structural screws. That's the
structural screws. But like, they are. Actually, I had some bigger ones out there for my sawbuck. But I mean, they are just, these like nasty looking giant screws with, this is a. These are T25 head on them. They are Uber grade. I don't know what that means, but it sounds German. I love them. So like, I'm looking at like doing my outfeed table here in the next couple of months. And initially I was going to just, tenon it together with the panther router or whatever. And I still might do that, but I'm like, what would be kind of cool would be to do tenons and then just run these in instead of glue. So it'd kind of be like a knockdown style if you wanted.
Right.
Not that you want to be driving those screws in and out for something like that. But yeah, like I agree. Like using those on projects depends on the project.
Right.
And some of them are painted black. This one's obviously, these ones are, I don't know.
It's like an outdoor coated bronze sort of color.
Galvanized or something. I mean, not galvanized, but yeah, they're plated. Actually, my workbench that I finished, those bolts holding the end cap on.
Right.
It's these, except they are black and they're 5.5 inches long and 5/16 thick.
Yeah.
So diameter. So.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I think that's what I used on my workbench when I did it on video here, is attach the end caps with those GRK screws. Yeah, and they're just lovely to use.
Yeah. It's funny because people I think go through this phase in their woodworking where they're like, oh, I want to build this with 0 fasteners. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, but fastener's the better way to do that.
Yeah. So, it was when I was down with Hasib in Atlanta shooting the Grizzly Maker Challenge. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something came up along. I'm like, hey, I'm not questioning you, but I'm interested academically. I'm interested why you chose to do it this way. He's like, well, I did. He's like, I don't want to use fasteners. I'm like, oh, I mean, okay, cool. So, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in my work on the desk project that I want to do here was trying to decide what my joinery techniques were going to be. And looking around some of the projects that I've built in the past and the kind of look that I want, I think I'm going to do just it's just going to be kind of your standard dados and grooves. And then like my tool cabinet in my shop, I reinforced the dado joinery with wrought head nails. Yeah. And I just love that look. And I think it would match kind of the vibe that I'm going for on this desk. And so, yeah, I love being able to use kind of an interesting fastener when it suits the project. Like, I think that enhances the project even more.
Yeah. It's funny. I just saw it on, I don't remember if it was Shay Alexander's Facebook or Instagram or his brother or somebody posted to their business account. But his one brother does blacksmithing, and somebody had posted a picture of, like, it was a little display board of all these head styles of, like, screws it was all forged. So they're all forged head styles on screws, nails, and they're like, hey, here's some of the, for our commission work, here's some of the custom head styles available for, basically bulky hardware, whether it's nails, screws, something like that. And then it was like, or, these can be used as drawer pulls. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, absolutely. Like, they were big enough that they could be. And it's those type of things that I really like. And it was, who did we have out to do some video with us several years back? Was it Horton? Was it or was it Horton? It might have been.
It was Horton Brasses. Yeah.
Was it Horton? And they said, oh yeah, like we kind of do that little short run stuff occasionally for people that need something. So like it's that type of thing that takes a project and makes it a little nicer. Like, hey, put some custom hardware on it, or make your hardware,
right.
Or go buy standard brass hardware and get some chemicals and play around with that, or patina it or texture it or something.
Right. Yeah, I think there are a lot of options that we just don't consider because you just think you're picking something out of a catalog and then that's your look that you have to stick to. And again, because of the people that we work with around here, where they're like, no, you fire it with a torch and you get a super cool look to it. And you're like, yeah, you do. Yep. I'm doing that.
Yep, that's how we do this.
Because when Chris he did it with a marking knife project for ShopNotes where It was a wood handle, and then he did like copper ferrules at the top and bottom. And then he had, I hate to use the word sharpened, but ground a point on the end of a carriage bolt, but it was rounded. It wasn't really like a sharp point. And then basically just dimpled the copper ferrule. And then he had different oils that he brushed on the copper and then torched it. And the different oils resulted in slightly different colors. So you had like this caramel color look, or something that was leaned a little bit more green, or like a darker oxidized color, and just amazing.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah. All right. There you go. I think that wraps up another episode of the Shop Notes Podcast. We want to hear from you. Any questions, comments, or smart remarks, you can send that as an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com, or leave a comment on our YouTube page. Also great if you can leave 5-star reviews and comments on your podcast provider. Helps other woodworkers find the show and extends our reach. Thank you also to the readers and subscribers to Woodsmith and Popular Woodworking. We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye. Shop Notes Podcast is brought to you by Gorilla Glue. When you're working on a project in the shop, you put in hours of effort. The last thing you want is for it to come apart because the glue didn't hold. That's why you should keep a bottle of Gorilla Wood Glue on the bench. It's non-foaming, it cleans up with water and dries a natural color. And of course, there's the reliable Gorilla strength you can always trust. Also, check out the Gorilla Wood Filler for strong, durable repairs. Gorilla is strong enough for the pro and easy enough for the beginner, built by you, backed by Gorilla.